Father,
Yeah.
did you forget?
Oh, yeah. Wait a minute. I'm just scrolling through my schedule and I see that we have the recording today for Ask Your Father, right?
Yep.
Let's do it. Sorry. Let's look at the first question for today. How can I tell what God wants me to do with my life? How can I tell what God wants me to do with my life? Well, first of all, God does not tell you what one needs to do in life. It is we who make choices as to what we want to do with our life. But following God's will, honestly, will give us the purpose and meaning of our life. Sometimes it might be occurring to us, some of us, that we end up making a series of decisions that will lead to a kind of situation. Then we begin to think, oh, this is not what God wanted of me to do. But if you're honest to ourselves, from the very first step, if we respond to God's will and plan accordingly, at every step of the way, we will know what God is asking of us to do. God will show us the path, but God is not walking the path for us. God will give us the strength, but we need to take the steps to walk on that path. So, God will never tell us what to do with our life. God will give us the grace to make right choices, to make right decisions. God will accompany us, but it's you and me, because we need to keep our intelligence working. Combination of our mind and intellect with the soul, we make informed decisions that will help us make the best choices for our life. And that is what God desires for us. And when we do that, it will be a life of happiness. But otherwise, at every step of the way, we make whatever we want, and at the end think of what is God wanting of us. I think we are putting God in the wrong spot. Our job is to simply respond to every God's grace and desire it. And that's where God wants us to. Let's look at the second question. But today, ask your Father. If God forgives me, why do I still feel guilty sometimes? If God forgives me, why do I still feel guilty sometimes? Forgiveness is 100% from God's side. God does not forgive us in bits and pieces. God's mercy is abundant, as high as the sky, as deep as the ocean. God does not ration out his forgiveness. Sometimes the guilt comes from our inability to live God's grace. God does not want any of us to live in guilt. And through the sacrament of reconciliation, which we believe in the Catholic faith, we receive the forgiveness of God through the church, through the church's minister, a priest, and forgiveness is given totally to the capacity. But once we leave and begin to live our life, there's always an opportunity to go back to guilt, the past, and live the past. It is said, anxiety is always about the future. Depression is always about the past. And guilt comes from living in the past experiences. Means we are giving the devil an opportunity and a greater weight than God's grace. St. Paul says very clearly, where there is sin and there is even more abundantly present God's grace. So the very question itself, if God forgives me, remove that if. God forgives us, period. But if we embrace forgiveness, that is the invitation to start a brand new life. Forget what I had done and embrace the new path. When we do that actively and consciously and intentionally, we're not going back to guilt. Devil keeps prompting us, hey, come back. This is what you have done. This is what you are. This is what your life is. But God's grace pushes us forward by giving us God's forgiveness abundantly. And I repeat, God does not ration out. God does not give us His forgiveness and mercy in bits and pieces. And forgiveness is received. We move forward with God's grace.